Welcome back, everybody. This is Robbie for Miscellaneous Candor. Frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. We were off last week due to the holiday, but we are here. And guess what, everyone? This is our 50th episode.
Yay!
Steven, are you there?
Hello, my friends. You
That was
didn't
good,
hear me
Steven.
cheering in there?
That was good.
Um,
That was good, Steven. Hello, my friends. Okay, Steven, say hi to the
it is
people.
I, Stephen Kennedy. Oh no, I screwed. Oh man, see, I'm tired.
What? What's wrong?
Is I, Stephen with a PH, Kennedy, board certified atheist at your service.
Oh my goodness.
I know, Robbie. I could ask
Mm,
you to cut that out, but you're not going to just because you hate me. So
I don't hate you, but I absolutely am not gonna cut it out.
that's what. Yeah. Okay.
Has nothing to do with hating or liking you, but I don't hate you.
Yes.
We would not be doing this for 50 episodes if I hated you.
This is true. This is true.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so guys, we're gonna try to keep it really, really sharp and brief this week. So, first and foremost, podcast. I know I've been listening to this series on New York Times about love, and they had that modern love story before talking about this gay man who married a straight woman, which was very interesting.
Oh,
Then they had a story about soul ties and how people find like their soulmate and what does that really mean, and how no matter how much certain people who are interviewing and matchmaking, they're just talking about how love is this sort of esoteric thing that is hard to wrap their minds around, or that sort of thing. Like, people get married for various reasons, and sometimes you might get married and not because of love, because of different things, because marriage is a partnership.
mhm,
But then they're just talking about those people who do get married for love and
mhm.
find that person, what they feel like is their soulmate. Then they were talking about how there's more than one soulmate. But then this week, they were talking about location sharing. So, Stephen, I had to ask you, what do you think about?
Location sharing? What does that mean? You mean living together?
Yes, like when you're with somebody, like for example, my daughter, I share her location. I know where she is at any given
Okay.
time.
So
But if
living
you're in a
together.
relation yeah, you're in a relationship, how do you feel about location sharing? I have to bring this up on because this is on the podcast. I
Are
need to know
you
what you
are you
think.
asking me because I just generally hate people? Is that why you're asking me?
I'm asking you because of that reason and because of the fact, like, I cannot see you in a dating situation or even in a committed relationship situation sharing your location
Oh,
no matter how much you like somebody.
you
Am I
know
right
what?
or am I wrong?
You underestimate me, Robbie.
What?
You
Okay.
underestimate me. I
Alright.
actually,
Correct me.
if it's the right person,
Mhm.
I think it can absolutely make sense to location share with your significant other.
Look at you. Okay.
Yeah,
So tell me
yeah.
why you think
What?
that.
What? You think I'm some kind of barbarian? What? You think I'm a caveman,
You
Robbie? I don't
act like
understand.
it. I don't like people. We are the lowest of the low.
We are,
You can't
but
well, I'm just
I still have human emotion. I still fall in love like a normal
o
person.
okay. Alright.
Sometimes I really wonder, what do you really think of me? I just don't.
I mean, I think I learn new things about you every week.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask
Okay,
you.
remember, we're trying to keep this tight too, but
Yeah,
ask
we're
me.
gonna
What were
keep
you
it
gonna
tight.
ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, you just distracted me. I forgot what I was gonna ask you.
No, you didn't.
Um,
Remember what you were gonna ask me.
I was.
Remember.
Oh, I was gonna ask you. You know, so what's so there I personally, from what I've seen my entire life, I think the majority of people get married for the practicality of the time and the situation, and
Mhm.
not because they're actually feeling that esoteric love that you just spoke of, that you can't really explain what it is, and it's that just that feeling, that connection you feel. And I feel like, a lot, I feel like a very large percentage of those people that get married for the practicality of it, don't last. They end up hating each other. They end up just really kind of just, just going through life, not actually enjoying it. And it's either that they continue on very miserably or they get divorced. But I think you're also saying that people, who do get it married because they fall in love, that connection that can't be explained, you're saying that those people may not end up happy later in life either. Is that correct?
No. So this is I'm glad you asked that. So let me clarify. They're really talking about like this very specific population that's probably, I think, pretty small. Is and this was not the location sharing episode. This was the episode on the
What
soulmate
do
ties
you
and
have to call location sharing? Can't you say
that's
living
what the
relationship?
episode is called.
Okay,
It's
all right,
called
okay,
location sharing.
all right,
Okay, so I mean, just call it what it is.
all right.
Okay, so this the other episode I was talking about, where they're talking about the soulmate and all of that. They're saying these groups of these couples, people who not only because you can get married and have a good marriage and a good partnership and not be in love with the person initially,
Yeah.
but then over time fall in love with them or get, close
Hmm.
because you especially if you build a family, you
Yeah.
build a household and all of those things, and you both of you are decent people with decent hearts and all of that, there's no reason why you wouldn't fall in love with that person over time, right? And
Okay,
sometimes
I
those
agree.
relationships can last a long period of time. What they're talking about, as I said, a small population of people who met, timing was right. They literally had this soulmate connection, and then they're still together. Like they had all of the partnership things too,
Hmm.
but then they also too had this deep love. And I feel like that is the rarefied air. Like that is the
And
part where you don't really know if that's going to happen or not, right?
yeah,
Because I feel
I
like you
think I
can
think
grow
most people
into.
don't actually find that,
Yeah, that's what I was going to
and
say.
it's sad.
Or,
It's scary.
or if you do find it, the timing's off. You can't,
Right. Right.
like,
Yeah.
it's not with the right person,
Wait, what do you
or
mean it's not with the right person? If you're feeling that, it's got to be with.
well, what I mean, I was speaking too quickly in my thought. When I mean it's not the right person, I mean like you can have that type of feelings for someone, but maybe they're not a good partner for you,
Ah, okay, okay.
right? So you could have a soulmate connection, but then when you start talking about the day to day
Yeah,
and the day to day decisions of building a family, being in a household, talking about expenses, figuring out, how that's going to run in your
yeah,
household and being not necessarily never having disagreements, but being able to come to agreements and ultimately have peace in your household.
yeah, yeah.
That that doesn't always happen with somebody who you can have a soulmate connection with. You can have a soulmate connection with somebody and then not have all those things. You can
That's
have a soulmate connection with that person and then the timing's off, so you can't be with that person. And then you could have a soulmate connection with somebody, and then you do have all of those things. And I think that last part is the one that's rare, and that's the one that they were talking about in the
yeah.
episode. So yeah. Anyway, okay. So,
Have
but the
you have you
location sharing
experienced
part,
have you experienced any of those situations?
we talked about this on the last episode.
Yes, but the last episode didn't come through.
No, we talked about this.
Oh, the one before
Okay,
that?
everyone. Yes, we did. Oh my God, people. Yes, yes, we talked about it a little.
Okay.
Yes, we did. Okay, yes.
I'm
Hmm.
confused. I thought we talked about it on our last. Anyways, I don't want to cause confusion for our audience, but
Yes,
let's
please
continue.
don't. But we
Okay.
talked about it on the last aired recorded podcast that is out in podcast land. We talked about this, and I talked about
Okay.
how I had somebody who I
Yes.
met who was my soulmate, who I probably always have those feelings for, etc.,
Oh.
etc. We talked about this.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on.
Okay. That hasn't changed since the last time we talked about it. Okay, all right. So, okay.
But what do you
Anyway,
think about
hmm?
what do you think about all these people that just get married for practicality? Do you think they're making the right decision? Because, like you said, many people do grow and fall in love as they're building a family, as they're
Hmm.
spending quality time together. So,
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
so
do.
you
I
know,
do. Sometimes, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that if that's what you wanna do, and I do think that that's good for I think that even if you're not, like, Christian like me, right? I believe in that fundamentally, that is part of being a Christian, but outside
here
of
we
that
go.
no, 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 no.
Thanks for the plug.
Outside of that, even if I wasn't, I would say that I do think, and some people don't agree with this, but I do think that marriage and solid partnerships actually are better for society, particularly a society that is well built and strong and viable and civil. It's better for that because when you are married and you do decide to build a family and build a unit, right, together, let's say even if you don't have kids because you can't for whatever reason, but you build a unit and you feel you are moving through life to better that unit. And in doing that, a lot of things come in terms of a betterment of society. You want society to be better because of what you're building. And
Mhm.
so you have more of a likelihood to want peace, to want to have engines of business and government to work well, to want to have, people engaging in conversations and being able to agree to disagree. And, just like that whole civil society structure, you want that to happen because you are building something of, more human beings and raising them, and you want them to experience the same thing. So I feel like it can be a self fulfilling prophecy in a
Mhm.
good way for
Okay.
overall society. That's what I think,
Okay.
right?
I agree.
But that's my perspective,
I
though.
agree with you
So, yeah. Okay.
to a certain extent, but
Alright.
we could go
Did you
deeper.
wanna say what you wanna say? I'm just
No, no,
looking at
we can. This is a we can dig deeper into this in another episode.
okay, I still want so you are down with the location sharing if you had were in the right relationship.
Yes, yes, absolutely,
I just never
absolutely.
thought that you would be. You totally got me on this
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Listen, I
Uh,
hate people, but when I truly connect with someone, it's a
mhm.
feeling that surpasses all that hate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright. Are you looking for that unlikely soulmate connection? The soulmate
of
partner?
course, yeah. Who
Okay.
isn't? I feel like if you're not, then you're giving up a whole um, aspect of happiness in your life. But let's keep in mind,
Yeah.
like as we've talked about. I'm sorry.
Nothing, go on.
I was saying, most people never find that in their entire
Yeah.
life, and so they don't know what they're missing out on when they forego that search, right?
Okay. Alright, I hear you. Alright, so let's look at, AI. Let's talk about it a little bit. Um, alright. There's so much stuff that's going on.
There's a lot going on.
I mean, there's
Oh,
just so much stuff with the AI and just regular people. Alright. So one of the things that I was looking at there's this whole list of world universities, the best universities, and there was one segment that was released and it talked about the best universities for studying artificial intelligence, and the top 38 or 39 were all either in China, Japan, Australia, and England in that order. And then the 38th or the 39th was American. So it's interesting that we keep talking about how AI is all about here, but then there are places to study and better understand how to utilize it, implement, and maybe even innovate it even more are not here. So I find that interesting.
why?
Secondly,
Why do you think that is?
because I think that I don't know. I think there's a lot of reasons, so particularly now with all the education cuts and everything like that. I don't know if people can even talk about having research at that level anymore. I think that it has to do with just the training around the data science, the math, understanding that, and then correlating that in terms of artificial intelligence, and also to giving space for like innovating around it and thinking about it outside of just using it as GPT. I think right now, particularly in America, people are programs, they're talking about them, but they're nascent and they're early, and they haven't been looking at this for a long time. I mean, because this is not something that's new. I mean, it's been around, since 50s, 60s. It's not something that's, but it's just that now everyone knows about it and it's ubiquitous. So people are learning about it, and it's being talked about in a way to uppin many industries, and it's going to be a part of every industry. I think that we're just slow to implement it from a people perspective in terms of educating our force of people to understand it. But
Mhm.
in terms of the infrastructure of it, we are the leaders. Like Nvidia is the best, right, for the chips and all of that. It doesn't, I mean, it's just the fastest, it's the best. Everyone knows it. That's what it is. So, and then even in terms of like the servers and the energy, I feel like we have the strongest from the infrastructure perspective, but in terms of the innovation and how to use it and the growth and learning that over a long period of time, those seem to be ranked that way. Now, I don't know who's doing the rankings, right? I don't know how that's being
Yeah, that's,
done
no,
and
that's a
what the
good point.
classification is. So I'm saying this and take it with a grain of salt. This is what's listed in the overall world global rankings and US News and World Reports, which has been doing this for a long time, but that doesn't mean that their criteria fits the criteria of what will be the best, considering this is a whole new area that we're all in terms of what it's going to look like. Nobody, people know, and I think the people who are like the experts have a better idea of where some of this can go, but even they don't know really what's going to happen and what it's going to all look like in the next 10 years. So, yeah. So there's that. Then, I saw this one thing about AI influencers. So they were just talking about how like there's all these videos out there of people who are, and there's a app that you can use to create a video to influence on skin creams and skincare and other different products, and people of all different backgrounds, black creators, Indian creators. I mean, just, and that looks like a normal person who would be on Instagram doing a regular video. And but it's a AI. And I guess it's just so weird that it's out there, but why wouldn't marketing teams and brands use that? But at the same time, my whole thing is if you know it's AI, right? And it just doesn't make why would you buy something from an AI influencer? If you don't know, then you just think that it's just somebody regular. So then it becomes, is it ethical for these brands? Do they need to have a mandate to where if it's an AI video, there always is a labeling that would say made by AI versus just being out there and you having to figure out if it's AI or not? So what do you think about that?
Well, does it really does it matter to the audience if it's genuinely being created by the company that is putting the product out, that's created the product? Does it matter to the audience whether it's AI or not?
I don't know. I mean, that's the question. What do you think?
I don't think so. As you know, as long as the information being provided is authentic, it's coming from the source, the authentic source. It wouldn't matter to me whether it's a real person or AI. But now this kind of ties into the fact that many people, many CEOs of massive companies are talking. They're voicing their thoughts about how AI is too rapidly taking over people's jobs. And there's another area where you're taking over. People. real people actually do these jobs of being in the commercials, and
Mhm.
now if you're taking away jobs from that industry as well. Just to that point, it's gonna really reach into every single sector in some form or another. But
Yeah,
imagine how people, how much money is going to be lost in income for people, that for actors, for commercial actors, for
everyone.
models, for yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It is, and it's gonna be interesting in terms of, like, how are people really? Because making a living and having a job is more than just your income. Like, it gives meaning to people's lives. Some people really do like what they do, and not being able to do that because something that's a machine can do it faster than them is okay, that's great, but what's the benefit for it? And my whole thing is this too. People are saying, "Oh, it's gonna take all these jobs," which I get, and you wanna have faster productivity, but if you don't have enough people working to make the money to buy your stuff, then who cares if it's made faster? It's just gonna sit there because nobody's gonna be able to buy it because nobody's gonna have any money because nobody's working.
Right? And so this is the catch. This is the biggest conundrum, right? And I
Right.
think the problem is people are not everyone is understanding this. Our economy could be destroyed very quickly if you put too many people out of jobs
Mhm.
without the proper timing, phased in rollout. We're fucked. I mean, you know
Not to mention, people aren't having kids like they used to anymore. A lot of people are not getting married like they used to anymore. So, the amount of younger people who are entering in the workforce who are not getting jobs, that actual number is gone down over time. And we're getting more and more older people in our society. I mean, our as in America. So, then too, there's that. That was already happening anyway, pre AI. You add AI on top of that. And it's like, okay, who are you making for who? Because if no one's working and everybody's quote unquote AI'd out of a job, or you have lesser people work, you have lesser people buying the things that you say that you're making that's supposed to make more money. But if you don't have enough people buying the things that you are making, then you're not going to make more money. Revenue is a two-way street. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure people smarter than me have been thinking about this. Yeah.
um,
Hmm. Anyway, okay, so can we go on? Because we really trying to be tight, tight, tight. All right. So lastly, and of course, I wish you had the music. We are going to talk about the Diddy case. Yes, everyone. So we skipped a week, but you probably know the verdict came out. He was only found guilty on two charges. And that was both related to transporting sex workers over state lines and actually engaging in prostitution. So the sex trafficking charges, the racketeering charges, which I thought were ridiculous, but I understood what they were going for.
wait,
Those were that
sorry,
he was
real.
found not guilty on, huh?
Oh, sorry. I was. Can you please lay out There were six charges that.
Yes, and he
Okay.
four were not guilty and two were guilty.
Okay, and then the four. Do you recall what the four were that he was found not guilty?
They were around RICO racketeering.
Okay,
2 of those, and then there were 2 on sex trafficking. He was found not guilty on those, so that's 4, and then there were
and those
2
were the
on
big ones.
prostitution. Yes, those are the big ones. Those are the ones that he would have gotten life in prison for,
Hmm.
and then the 2 he was found guilty on were around prostitution, transporting prostitutes over state line and then engaging in prostitution,
Hmm.
and those hold a maximum sentence of 10 years, but a minimum of 2 for someone who has a first conviction, right? Which would be this case. And he's already been in jail for a period of
Yeah.
time. So ideally, depending on what the judge decides, he could be out. And
Basically,
but
he's
here's
gonna be
the
on
thing.
house arrest and volunteer duty.
Well, here's the thing though. Here's the thing.
Yeah,
So everybody was up in arms, people who were, and I do think that it's pretty messed up that
yeah.
they essentially said that, at least from the sex trafficking thing, that he wasn't guilty of that, and that basically it was a lot
Well,
of people like you, a lot of
there's
people like you who
yeah,
felt like Cassie and the girl, this is what they want. They were involved in it, so they can't say that they were trafficked.
there's so much gray area, and there's so much evidence that they were willingly enjoying what they were doing in exchange for the money, right? So, I mean, like I said, it's the hardest evidence were those text messages where they're in the social posts where these girls are expressing how happy they are in that situation, and I think
Yes,
that
but
was the
they were
big.
doing that knowing that they if they didn't do that, their livelihood would be taken away. Their
Well,
parents would be
this
threatened.
is all
They were
that
on
gray area.
drugs.
That's the whole
Exact
gray area, which in
Yeah,
court
and
can
it's
hold up.
yeah, but I just still feel like there's still this big mindset around it being the woman's fault. And he even said, he would say this is why he messed with young Miami. She was young. He liked messing with young women because they were easier to mold. He was a predator with
Yeah,
regard to that.
that's a given. Yeah.
So, yes, maybe she did want to do whatever um it took. But I still don't believe this. That when women say especially during that time and being 19 years old, when you're saying that you're going to do and you're willing to do anything that you need to do, I don't think that you were thinking about freak offs. I don't think that she knew really what that meant in
But
that
you hear
scenario.
what you're saying, right? You listen to
What?
what you're saying. I don't think. I think this. I think that. So this is
I know
all
what I'm
your.
saying.
Okay.
It is mine, but I'm not the only one that thinks like this. I'm not the only one that believes
Yeah.
this, and the reason why is because when you do see children who are sex trafficked, it's done in a very similar circumstance. It's just because they're children, right? They're 10, 11, 12. So people are like, "Oh my god, that's different."
Yeah.
People feel like if you're 18 years old, you should know better. But
But
there's a whole
that's
lot
not
of
true,
reasons.
right? 18 such an your brain
Exact
is still
That's
not
my
developed.
point. But there's a lot of people out there that don't believe that. And there's a lot of people out there that don't see her as that 18 or 19-year-old girl who met him when he was grooming her and doing all that stuff. They see her as the woman she is now, who's married and has 2 kids by this other guy and who got him for $30 million.
Yeah.
That's who they see.
Yeah.
They don't see the whole arc anymore. They
Yeah.
just see the end. So, I mean, I get that, but I don't agree with it. I just don't. And the other thing that I here's the thing, I don't know if he'll get the 2 years or if he'll get the other thing about these 2 charges that he was guilty on. Each of them can go up to 10 years. So technically, he could get 20 years in jail.
Hmm.
He could, including time served, but still that's like 18 years. He won't get out till he's like 75 because the man is like 55, 56, right? So if the judge goes hard on him, and there is a lot of evidence that says the judge would, because he thought because those 2 charges were light, that he was going home. He
Hmm.
thought that they were gonna let him out because the jury found him not guilty on the most strict charges, but
Hmm.
the judge said, "No, you are still a danger. Your defense team sat up here and said that you're a bad man,
Hmm.
that you do beat on people, that you are violent, that you have done these things. So I can't let you out on your own recognizance and say that you're not going to go back basically and get revenge on all the people who testified against you."
Hmm. Yeah.
So then
Absolutely.
I'm like, okay, if he's seeing that and he's saying that right now, is he going to give him 20 years?
I
He
don't think
could.
so. No, no, no. There's so. I mean, I think realistically, I think he will give Diddy a couple years in jail, minimum, and then he'll have the opportunity to get out early release, and then he'll be on house arrest and he'll whatever else. But I think he will get a couple years, but not. I think he'll get out after a couple years.
So here's the other thing. Right now, they're trying to speed up to get to the sentencing piece. But as of now, he Diddy can be in jail up to October until he's sentenced.
Oh, good.
But then it becomes a time served things, and then there's one
Right,
more
right,
thing
right,
that
right.
we
That's true.
haven't accounted for,
Yeah.
which
But at
is
least he doesn't get a
Donald
break.
Trump
Like
pardon.
he doesn't get to go out and, breathe again. He's got to sit there and
No.
rot. So that's good.
I said, "Did you hear the other thing that I said?
What?
He could get the Donald Trump $10 million pardon."
That is very possible. That's a very good point.
That is a possibility. So there are all these things. So we'll have to see what happens, but that is what happened with
I mean,
the case.
one rapist understands another rapist, right? So he might let him out.
Okay, but wait, you said that you don't think he was a rapist because you said they were all into it.
I'm talking okay, specifically about Cassie Ventura and these other girls that were taking money in exchange for the sex, and these freak offs. But what about all these? There are just too many cases of him sexually abusing people, and there's the thing about him having minors at his freak off or at his after parties, and you
But
know, I, and
they
people
knew
like
that. They
he
didn't
was
say that
drugging
in
people, and he was they
Yes.
wake up with him on top of them. He was putting drugs in all his drinks at parties, and yeah,
People were talking about this in the actual case. The prosecution brought people up. They talked about these things, but the jury still didn't believe them. They believed that he was just wild. These were just
yeah.
parties, and this is a lifestyle, which is how the defense said.
How much of this do you think
Mhm.
the juries buy? No matter what, there's always a
You
bias,
think
right?
Diddy bought the jury? You think
I
he
don't
bought
think
paid off
he.
some people?
I think it's entirely possible. I think that's
Guys,
entirely
you're
possible.
right. We
But
don't
how
know.
much?
Allegedly. Let me be clear. Allegedly.
Yes,
Mhm.
but how much do you think is based on the fact that he's a big time celebrity and maybe some of the jury members were struck by his celebrity and
I mean,
that
they
kind of
had
overshadowed?
T-shirts. They had T-shirts outside of the jury thing. They had the free Diddy ones, but they also had these T-shirts that said, "Frico is not a Rico."
Okay, okay.
So, I
It's
mean,
about fair. It's about
to your
justice.
point,
It's about
right?
fair play. Okay.
But to your point, there could have been people who were thinking that. He's just a freak. He's crazy. But that doesn't mean he's, running a sophisticated organization to carry out criminal actions. So
Yeah.
Frico's not a Rico. I want to see one of those shirts though. I do want to see one. I don't think I would ever buy one. I do want to see though what it looks like. And then you sent me these crazy he sent me these crazy videos of these
It's
people talking about,
wild.
"I wanna be in a freak off.
It's
Where's
wild.
Diddy?" Um, Throwing baby oil on each other,
Yeah, you saw that
video
AI
people
generated.
dropping their tops and stuff, walking around naked, it was just awful.
You saw the last clip I sent you with Chris Rock dropping baby oil on Jada's head and rubbing it around.
So it's Facebook. I'm not on Facebook.
Okay.
We've had this
All right.
conversation. So
All
you
right.
keep sending me these Facebook things and I
I
can't
I
really
don't even realize if I'm sending which one I'm sending it through is.
so yeah. Okay. But yeah, so no, I didn't see that one. But the other ones are just so wild and people are just like, I want to be in a freak off. Give me where's the freak off? I'm just like, really?
That's so good.
Really? It's just no, it's obnoxious and out of control and the most extreme craziness.
It-
Um,
Listen, I think if there's anything we've learned over the last let's see, 7 years or so, there's a lot of crazy in this world, and the people that you think are holding it together are crazy as. Yeah.
and on that note, I think we're going to say goodbye, audience. Goodbye, audience, Stephen. Say goodbye to the people.
Oh
Oh, and
yeah.
everybody remember too, we're on YouTube. You can listen to us on YouTube. You can also to make sure you like and download and rate us. You can make comments on us on Spotify too, and rate us too. So please do that. Please, please, please. Okay, Stephen, go ahead.
Well, my friends, we come to the close of another wonderful episode. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for celebrating our 50th with us. It is I, Stephen, with a PH Kennedy, board certified atheist, at your service. Let's talk.
All right. See ya. Bye.